All right, so we're diving deep today into a case that, honestly, it's straight out of a thriller novel, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the kind of story you just can't put down.
Exactly. It has all these twists and turns, and it all starts with this really shocking murder. It was Brian Thompson,
Oh, yeah, Brian Thompson.
CEO of UnitedHealth's insurance unit, right?
Yeah.
And he was shot and killed in broad daylight on a busy Manhattan sidewalk,
Wow.
like just days before this huge investor conference.
No kidding. That's bold.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to try to unpack today, this case and everything surrounding it.
Sounds good.
So for anyone who needs a refresher, UnitedHealth, I mean, we all know them, right? Like, they are a huge player in health insurance. Like, they basically control a big chunk of the American healthcare system. So to have their top insurance guy, their CEO, gunned down like this,
That's a statement for sure.
yeah, it definitely sends a message, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the police taking this very seriously, obviously. They've been all over the place, like combing through surveillance footage, putting out calls for witnesses. They're even offering a $10,000 reward for any information.
Really? 10,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a big deal. But what makes this case even more intriguing, I think, are the specific details. Like, it's not just a random shooting. It's like there's a lot more to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, for starters, the suspect didn't just use any gun. Okay. The shell casings they found at the scene, they were deliberately carved with words.
Words.
Yeah, the words were deny, defend, and depose.
Huh. That's chilling, isn't it?
It's creepy, right? Like, almost like a message, like a calling card.
Yeah. Definitely makes you wonder what it means.
Right. Like, what's the message here? And it's hard not to think about, when you see those words, the tactics that are often used by the insurance industry in general.
Mostly with healthcare.
Yeah, exactly, especially in healthcare. There's this book, Delay, Deny, Defend. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, by Jay Feynman.
That's it, yeah. It's all about how insurance companies, they use these really, aggressive tactics to minimize payouts. Like delaying claims as long as possible, denying coverage whenever they can, and then just basically using legal processes to just wear down policyholders until they give up.
Right.
So you can't help but wonder, right? Like, could this be someone who's pushing back against the system, someone who's had enough and is taking a stand?
Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe they have this personal vendetta against insurance companies, or maybe even UnitedHealth specifically.
I mean, think about it, right? The frustration, the desperation that people feel when they're denied healthcare coverage that they need, or when they're facing these crazy medical bills that they can't pay. Like, it's got to be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And for some people, maybe this case, as tragic as it is, maybe it's an example of what happens when someone's just pushed too far.
It is a bit scary to think about someone feeling that trapped and powerless, right?
Right.
That they would resort to something like this.
Yeah.
But we don't want to jump to conclusions either, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to look at the facts.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk about the suspect and what we know about him.
Okay.
So the police, they've pieced together some of his movements. He took a bus from Atlanta to New York City. He used a fake ID. He used cash for everything. He stayed at a hostel.
So he was covering his tracks?
Yeah, he was being super careful. And he didn't just bump into Brian Thompson randomly. He staked him out. He waited for him. He planned this whole thing.
Yeah, he definitely knew what he was doing.
Right. And then after the shooting, he just disappears. He basically vanishes into thin air.
Like a ghost?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
like a ghost. He rode off on an electric bike into Central Park and poof, gone.
It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
Huh?
But like they say in the movies, even the best criminals make mistakes.
Ah.
And the police have found a couple things. A phone and a water bottle. Those purchased right before the shooting.
So there might be DNA.
Exactly. Fingerprints, DNA, who knows? They could be crucial pieces of evidence that lead them right to him.
I hope so.
Me too. So here we are, right? We've got a high-profile victim. We've got an incredibly well-planned attack. We've got these cryptic messages left at the scene. And we have a suspect who, for now, is still out there somewhere. It's all very, very intriguing. But the big question remains, why? What was the motive? What drove this person to do something so bold and calculated?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, was this purely personal? Was it revenge? Or was it something bigger, like a statement against the whole healthcare system, the way it's run, the way it treats people?
Yeah, maybe he saw Brian Thompson as a symbol, like you said, a symbol of a much larger problem.
It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, this case really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if this isn't just about one man's anger, but it's actually a sign of a much deeper frustration that's out there, like a frustration with a system that a lot of people feel is failing them.
Right. Like, is this just an isolated incident? Or is it a sign of things to come?
Exactly. It's like this case forces us to look at the human costs of these big, complex systems that we have, like healthcare. We have to ask ourselves, is it fair? Is it accessible? And who really holds the power? Individuals or these giant corporations?
Big questions.
Big questions, yeah. And while we wait to see what the investigation uncovers, I think those are the questions we should all be thinking about. Is this just a horrible tragedy, or is it a warning sign? Something that we need to pay attention to before it happens again. What do you think?
It's definitely a lot to unpack.
It is.
A lot to think about, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we'd love to hear what you think, too. Let us know your thoughts on the case, any theories you might have.